Hello, hello, hello. I am so excited. I have Elissa Goodman here in the Shasta for our podcast. It is a steamy afternoon here in Santa Monica, California, but we are braving this heat to sit down together and have a conversation. If you are not familiar with Elissa's work, she's a holistic, integrative nutritionist who is amazing. And I must tell you, there has been many a night where I'm scanning your Instagram, looking at all of the recipes that I'm going to cook. And straight up, I am making that summer grill bowl.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I am making that tonight.
Yeah.
No, I'm not even joking.
Really?
Because I was looking at it last night. My mouth was watering. Anyway, so do check out her site. There will be a link. But Elissa, thank you so much for joining me in the Shasta for the Wishbeads podcast.
I love the Shasta. This is the cutest thing I've ever seen.
It is super
I could hang
fun.
out in here.
Yeah, it's really fun.
I could come
so
and
just
hide.
Imagine when it's parked like in the middle of the redwoods. It is so much fun. Anyway, that's a story for another day. But I am so grateful because I've been a longtime fan of yours. And when our dear friend Emily Raber, I think, connected us and she showed you Wishbeads, I think you called me up and you're like, okay, I need these right now.
I did.
And I was coming from another event. And I
that's my style.
Exactly. You're a woman after my own heart. So, and I really think that, well, first of all, let me just ask you, what was it about Wishbeads that you just knew, like, boom, it's right for me and it's right for my audience?
Well, I think that with health and wellness, what I've learned over the years is it is so crucial to get your emotional wellness, situation like calm and find some inner peace and also connect with maybe loving yourself. Those things have become so profound. Food is great. Food is medicine. But I think over the years, I've noticed those emotional components and spiritual components being more, important to really getting to the place of wellness, true wellness and thriving. So I just love the fact where you could make a, wish for yourself, or I love writing down things. I've always been someone who thought, when I was upset, or I do a morning practice where I write down what I want, how I want to manifest the day. And that's what I felt about this. This was like a beautiful thing to be able to wear around with me all day. I could write down what I wanted to manifest or even what I wanted to let go of, or, and I could have it with me and it could be a reminder.
Absolutely.
That was so
because we're all
big.
so busy. It's crazy. And I think that intention setting, just the act of intention setting. And I love the fact that you even take the moment of that morning ritual to say, like, how is my day going to unfold? I myself, I will tell you this idea of, I have a bad habit that I'm breaking right now of putting so many things on my to-do list, which feels like I'm burying myself before I even begun.
Yeah.
And so changing that and really setting yourself up for a very intentional day where you're setting yourself up for success with tiny goals as opposed to overwhelming mountain of goals is one thing that I'm really doing right now, so that I can be productive and kind of be like, yeah, I'm rocking it, as opposed to like, I can't get all this stuff done.
Right.
Huge.
And most of us do a list that's too long, do too much. Right. We do. And then we just overburden and we overburden and stress out our adrenals, our, just everything. We don't eat right. We don't take care of ourselves when we have too much on our plate.
Yeah, indeed. I want to share a little bit with the audience some of your personal story, because I was so moved that at 32, I believe, you were diagnosed with cancer.
Yes.
And while you were given all the appropriate Western techniques and suggestions and treatments, intuitively you felt that there had to be another way.
Right.
And that the healing through a wellness lifestyle, including healthy foods, really helped your own personal transformation. So can you share a little bit about sort of the intention setting work that you did around that time? And then, of course, you created your whole career based on that experience.
Yes, I was diagnosed with cancer at 32, which was just so scary. The word cancer scares everybody. And you kind of automatically go to that place of, oh my God, I could die. But I did find out after being diagnosed, a couple weeks later, that it was an early stage of cancer. So that sort of, helped a little bit. So just to put it in perspective. And then I saw 3 doctors, 2 just, scared the living daylights out of me. Was going to do hardcore chemo, radiation. Also, were asking me if I had a donor. I had to freeze my eggs because I hadn't had kids yet. And it was sort of like, whoa, like that too much was happening. And then the third doctor that I went to see, begrudgingly, but a friend of mine said, hey, you need to go see this guy at St. John's. He was a radiologist, oncologist, and he took a look at my scans and my slides, and he sat me down and he said, you know, like, are you happy? Are you doing what you love? I mean, and
Wow.
it was so out of left field, like a doctor
Wow.
asking those questions. And I burst into tears and basically was like, I am so miserable. Always growing up, I was sick all the time. So I was always feeling behind the eight ball. I was always chronically fatigued in a nutshell, without going into detail. And then I had two parents who were running circles around me. I mean, they were so productive and getting so much done. And I just felt like I was never good enough. And I
Wow.
just felt like, so emotionally I wasn't good and physically I wasn't good. So those two factors. So when he asked that, you know, I burst into tears and was like, I am really not happy. And just moved to LA with my husband from New York, who was from New York, and it was not an easy place to transition. And I had a job with Vogue magazine, which I thought was the, end all, which wasn't. It was Devil Wears Prada the whole way. I just had gone in over my head in terms of what they expected from me. I just couldn't live up to that. So again, I kept doing that in my life.
Yeah.
So at that time I was like, oh my God. And so he really directed me in another direction, helped me go. I went into therapy, sort of, tried to deal with my emotions, and really that was huge for me. And then I got to be more in touch with my intuition. And I realized that at early stage of cancer that I wasn't that chemo might do really bad things for me, my body over, a period of time.
Yeah.
So I chose to do half the radiation. But because I was scared that I probably could have maybe gotten away with no radiation, but
Right.
I just was a little bit terrified. So I did half the radiation. And then, yes, I changed my diet. I went into yoga. I started reading all these self-help books. I did all the LA things. I juiced and I did acupuncture and colonics and
Yeah.
everything I could get my hands on. Some quasi energy healing in those days. And
Yeah.
yeah, it was good. I mean, I really did. Cancer never came back. But because they radiated my thyroid, I ended up getting hypothyroidism and Hashimoto's. So I had a number of miscarriages and they had not detected my hypothyroidism. So that
Wow.
causes infertility. So when they did, I finally got pregnant. But then 11 years later, my husband was diagnosed with non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. And he passed away a year and a half later. He did do all the Western meds, and he had 2 bone marrow transplants in a year and a half, which is a little bit unheard of. And he really died of fungal pneumonia, not really the cancer, but of his immune system was so compromised. So I had a 10 and a 7-year-old at home, and I was like, holy shit. Number 2. And then that's when I went back to school and got certified in, Eastern and Western nutrition. But I did that only because I wanted to sort of help the girls and myself, because I was really scared about what was going to happen to the 3 of us.
Wow.
How was I going to keep up my energy and raise them and make them realize that, they weren't automatically going to think they were going to get cancer.
Right.
So
Right.
that's really where it all really started. Like, it was when he passed away, I was like, oh my God, I got to do something with my life. But I didn't want to be a nutritionist. I didn't think that my path was that. I really wanted to just take care of the family.
Amazing.
So
I mean, I am so in awe of your own story. I'm so in awe of what you've done, the books that you've authored, the retreats that you lead, the media. I mean, if you just go explore Elissa's, media page, it is so impressive. And I'm curious because I think one thing in the sort of dialogue about wellness right now, to me, I keep reading about how the narrative that we create about ourselves, the sneaky one, the quiet one that's in our heads, really dictates how we are experiencing life. It's not necessary. There's nothing true about it. It's just a
Right.
lens by which you're seeing that.
Right.
And so I would love to know your approach, with your clients in your teaching, in addition to the work that you're doing with food, which is such a powerful tool in and of itself,
Yeah.
but really in that wellness place, the sort of going from, as you said, having this feeling, this narrative in your head that was kind of a sickening narrative of like, I'm not good enough, it's never enough, I can't keep up with anybody,
Yeah.
to that transformation, even through your challenging times, to what is that, the power of narrative, inner narrative, in terms of the outcome of your life? And this
Oh
is
my
a
God.
little light question, just a little light question.
Not light at all. I mean, that was just like a bomb hit. Because that is where it's all at. The narrative is, I think, what gets us sick. The narrative is what's, really compromising our immune system. And it is putting us into fight or flight mode. And so I lived in fight or flight mode my whole life because of that narrative. And I burned out my adrenals and, really did a number on my endocrine system. And I just was, and also probably my brain function and everything and sleep and everything gets affected, right?
Sure.
So with my clients now, when I sit down with them, I do ask them, I mean, there was a great book I read. It's called Mind Over Medicine by Dr. Elissa Goodman. And she has a bunch of books. And she basically said that in the first 7 years of your life, your subconscious is 100% downloaded. So if you experience any trauma in those first 7 years, you're going to live with that.
Wow.
Basically, you and I right now operate, 95% out of our subconscious. We're 5% conscious. We're barely conscious. I mean, that still kind of boggles my mind to think about because I think I'm very conscious at this moment. But I am not. But so we are replaying that narrative. And
if it's subconscious, it's below the level of your awareness.
Totally.
I have to, there's someone I want to turn you on to, the work of Dr. Daphna Slonim, who wrote a book called The First Key, How to Remove Subconscious Sabotage.
Oh, I love it.
So she is someone that I've trained with, learned energy medicine from, energy medicine techniques. But when she wrote this book, because we are so driven by the subconscious, she has a way through energy muscle testing to detect if you have it, and then very simple targeted protocol to remove it. So I'll turn you onto it, and I will put a link to that in the resources.
Yeah, because most of my clients who have cancer and heavy duty autoimmune or digestive issues, they all experience some trauma. They don't connect the two, usually, the dots. So I will ask them, how was the birth? And, what was it like coming into your family or your life? And usually a lot of times it was stressful and it wasn't really safe in the home life. And, all of that is so crucial. I mean, some cultures, hold that baby for over a year, like they hold them,
wrapped,
wrapped, right? So they have that feeling of safe, and the world is safe. I mean, we put our babies, in the next room as soon as we can with a monitor. I mean, so I just think that a lot of that, coming into the world, it sets you up for what the future might hold. And if there is any trauma, I mean, a lot of times people think trauma has to be death or divorce or sexual abuse or something really hardcore.
Sure.
But it really doesn't, because it can be just that a friend was mean to you.
Exactly.
Right?
And it creates an emotional wound.
Totally.
No, for sure. And look, the planet is like an intense place. I think when we were on the other side, we didn't read the fine print in the brochure.
Right.
We saw pictures of Maui and we're like, yes, let's go.
Right.
And then you realize that you're in for another ride.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's not an easy place.
Yeah.
So we do work a lot with, just talking about that emotional trauma. And then I do a lot of energy healing work. I don't do it myself. I am Reiki certified, but that is not something that I do well. And so I send them to a Reiki or an energy healer or someone that can help them tap into that more and release it. Because I think that we can release it and really know how to, deal with it. And then, of course, meditation is great in terms of just really, setting us up for getting in touch with that subconscious and our intuition and letting it go as much as we can and writing down things that we know have sort of hurt us over the years and have caused us not to really get to where we need to be in our life. So all of that right now, thank God, is so big and popular.
It is. And more mainstream and less like, oh, it's so new age or LA or whatever, which I mean, it is. But I also think that, now because it's more mainstream, people are more open to it. And it doesn't matter where you are. There are resources, and that just makes it more available to people, which is awesome.
It's very cool. Like right now, I'm into crystals and all that. I'm very LA.
Yeah.
But I wear like a little selenite wand, which actually helps, sort of protect you from negative energy.
Wonderful.
In my bra. Like I have a little wand,
I love it.
I do. I feel so protected when I wear it. I don't always wear it, but
yeah.
I mean, there's so many beautiful things you can do. And I think it's the balance of the emotional, spiritual, and physical. And when they come together.
Amen.
And I ask my clients all the time, do you love yourself? That's a huge one. And I would say 99% say no.
Oh.
I know.
I'm always learning things, and one thing that I keep on having to listen to or choose to listen to over and over again is Eckhart Tolle's The Power of Now.
Yeah.
So yesterday I'm driving around to LA and there's traffic and whatever, but he was really talking about the pain body and talking about how the narrative that we have, the story that we're telling ourselves because we're constantly thinking about the future or our story from the past,
Yeah.
and allowing that to drive our state of being, and that truly it's such an illusion, and that we could be driving in our car and being frustrated and thinking about an argument we just had or a deadline that's fast approaching that maybe causes some anxiety, and then when you're attached into it, not only are you really like worked up over it, you're changing your emotional state,
Yeah.
but you're missing the magic of is literally what is right in front of you.
Yeah.
And it's such a hard thing because I was recently with a friend who's going through a really tough time. And of course, her narrative right now is very much focused on so many issues that are happening all around her. But in the same moment, and I have a lot of empathy.
Yeah.
So I don't want to be
Right.
that person in front of her being
Right.
like, right now, if you look around, what a gorgeous vista. And it's like a wonderful 75 degrees and sunny. And right now, you don't want to be that
Right.
because you want to be a friend and be like, I hear you. I'm here for you.
Mm-hmm.
And yet, right now, you and I, right now, how lucky we
Yeah.
get to be having this beautiful conversation. It's not
Absolutely.
too hot. We've got water.
Right.
All is well. Like
All the
a nice
comforts.
breeze. Like
Yeah.
it's so great.
Yep.
So it's
True.
a tricky thing. And when you think about, okay, so then thinking about wishing, then I thought as I'm listening to Eckhart Tolle, like, I'm talking about people like visualizing your wish as if
The
it's already
future.
come true. And that's
Yeah.
future.
Yeah.
However, one thing that I'm going to really specify in some upcoming posts is to say it's not so much about that your happiness is dependent upon obtaining that thing. It's about connecting with the energy and the feeling of that moment, the way that it makes you feel, and feel it right now.
Right.
See,
Yeah.
there's a difference. Like, I don't need that thing. I'm seeing that thing, allowing that energy to bask in that energy and let me change that energy state right now.
Right.
So it gives me a lens of appreciation and gratitude.
Yeah, no, that's powerful.
know?
That is powerful because I think it's just, I do that with my clients in terms of health, Do you feel, how do you see yourself at the ultimate, like thriving,
Yes.
healthy place? Envision what that looks like for you.
Yes.
And then experience it, it's just think about it. I mean, I think eventually you will get there, but, just.
But even in those micro
yes,
moments,
you
being
are there.
You're there.
Yeah.
You're there. And then
Yeah.
according to the law of attraction, the more you're in that state,
Yeah.
you are actualizing that state. You're attracting that state to you. You're
Absolutely.
attracting those people to you. And then you're working on building your intuition. So it's more and more and more of the
gets
same.
stronger.
That's what you're
Yeah.
tuning into.
Right. And letting go of the stuff that just doesn't work for you.
Yeah.
And yes, allowing in the stuff that does work for you. I mean,
Yeah.
it is, people are afraid of change. And, it is really sad. I do see so much of, not being present and thinking of the now and appreciating what you have at the moment. And it's just, that is so powerful to just, I feel the ultimate is to find some inner peace and just be able to really exhale and, get into your body, not have, most people's heads here, body here, but just to really, and that is about just right now, I'm safe and I love myself. I'm okay. Yeah, not everything is great and maybe I'm overweight or I have some health issues, but, like
All is well.
All is well at this moment.
At this moment, because
Yeah.
that's what we've got. That is
Yeah.
literally all we ever have.
Yes.
We have
Yeah.
this moment.
I know.
Oh, my
it's
goodness.
pretty wild.
Yeah.
But I'm so glad. I've had so many struggles in my life, and I know my girls have. They're 24 and 21 today with losing their dad at 10 and 7. But I think it's just made us all so resilient and stronger and wanting to just really have the best life we can.
Yeah.
And there's something really beautiful about, just, knowing that we can.
Yeah. And I also think it's beautiful that you've taken that journey and the discovery and the learning and you've helped so many people. And
Thank
I know
you.
you probably don't spend your day being like,
No.
wow,
No.
all the people that I've helped, but you
Yeah.
have. And that is such a
don't
shining
realize.
example because, I mean, it's weird. It's like two things, right? Because it's both you as a teacher, but you as an entrepreneur.
Right.
So when I see all that you've accomplished and you've got books and the outreach that you have and how beautifully you run your business, as someone who also like didn't plan on creating a physical product and figuring that out.
Yeah.
It's an act of selfless giving to
Yeah.
show up as
I guess,
beautifully as you
yeah.
do and be a mentor and a friend and a supporter of people like myself. So awesome. And then there's the huge audience of people that some you get to work with your clients, but then
Yeah.
other people read your books or they see your articles, they follow your recipes, they see you speak, and
Yeah.
you change your lives. And I think
you.
that's really, that's where we are right now, is that, people are watching the podcast or they're, anyway, it's
Right, it
just
is
like these
beautiful.
little golden drops that says like, okay, here was my earthly experience. I hopefully left it better than when I arrived.
Yeah. Yeah.
Learned some things.
Yes, it's all about like finding that passion and the purpose in your life. So many of us
Yeah.
are doing things that we don't love and
Yeah.
are passionate about. And to be able to take that step back and maybe reinvent yourself.
Totally.
I feel that's what I love so much about this is that, I'm going to be 60 next year. Like I'm 59. And
That's
so
awesome.
to be able to speak for the women who are in their 50s
Yeah.
even, or maybe 60s, that you can reinvent yourself.
Totally.
And you can feel better and I feel better than I ever have in my entire life. I mean, energy and mental clarity and everything, and just the love I have for myself, or the compassion and empathy
Yeah.
and all of those things. So it's possible. Like, I don't want women in their 50s to think, "Ooh, I'm anxious, I'm depressed, I'm having sleep issues." This is just how I have
This
to
is my
accept myself,
life.
right?
Exactly. Agreed.
Right.
And I
Yeah.
also think we have chapters in our lives. And I'm 47, and I was just reflecting on, I was a professional actress when I came to Los Angeles, and then I started being an online teacher and speaker and mentor and blah, blah, blah.
Right.
And then I had the idea for Wishbeads downloaded
Yeah.
in the shower. And
Yeah.
it sort of started another chapter. And yes, there are overlaps between all of that various work.
Yeah.
But I now can say, cool. So I've had like these 3 chapters, and I'm in the middle of my 3rd chapter, in the early middle of my 3rd chapter. And then I go, I wonder what's going to be next. And I
Yeah.
was recently doing a speaking engagement, and the moderator, this awesome woman, Anne, her daughters who are off to college, so they're around your daughter's age, maybe
Yeah.
a little bit younger. And she said, do you have advice for them? And I thought, and it was me and this other amazing woman, Jody, and we were sharing, like, when I was in my early 20s, I remember feeling so worried about how I was going to figure it out and do all the things that I wanted to do. And I thought, just if I could go back in time and say, chill out.
Yeah.
Like, there's going to be good stuff that happens
Yeah.
and really challenging, ugly stuff that happens, and you're going to learn the most from those things. So, like, chill out about that too.
Right.
And know that it's this ever evolving thing. So just enjoy the
Yeah.
ride.
I know.
And
That's a hard one.
and now I'm,
a hard one
I'm
for
in my
those
40s,
20s.
in my late 40s, and I
Yeah.
feel better now, happier now, more at ease with
Yeah.
what
Life.
comes next, so much
Yeah.
more playful. And so, do that in
I
your
know.
20s, right?
I know. Oh, I
And you-
wish. I wish.
I know.
I wish I had known that. So, and I
Right.
know I try to tell my girls that
Yeah.
it's a hard thing in the 20s. They really do want. I mean, they need to make enough money to live on their own,
Sure.
and that's really tough these days.
Sure.
Especially in LA. And they just. They do. Yeah, it's sort of built in that they do really want to accomplish everything they need to accomplish early. And I know it doesn't happen. It
Right.
just
And then you have
doesn't.
like social media, which tells you it's all looks great. It's
Yeah.
all so easy, and it's
Right.
all so whatever. And
Yeah.
I think that is that's a slippery
That
slope, right?
Sucks.
Although your recipe totally made me want to
Right,
make that
right,
recipe because it
right.
looks so good, but that's
Right.
food.
Yeah,
But
but
no,
yeah.
it's true. It's so true. And it just does not all have to happen.
Yeah.
And there is heart, there is hustle, but there has to be joy in the moment. Otherwise, the whole thing will be a painful
process. No, I know. But then also you have to let them, or you have to let even my clients, I do have to let them go through the journey or the struggle or the, if they're not ready to take on what they need to take on to make the changes. So that's also always been hard for me. I'm a type A Aries and I'm like, don't you see it?
Do it now.
Do it now. Yeah. Take hold and, start that healthy eating and start that green juice. And like, it's so easy, but it might not be so easy for them.
It's true. And, I was teaching and still do teach people to overcome the fear of public speaking. I love public speaking.
Yeah.
It's easy and fun. And it's where I'm like in my bliss. And I appreciate that for most people, it causes great pain and insecurity and feelings of vulnerability. And so I can so appreciate that we all have our like zone of genius or our passion or whatever. And yet even the tiniest shift in the direction of like really dancing with something that makes you uncomfortable, even the tiniest thing is huge.
Yeah.
Like, switching one food habit or one behavioral habit or one negative thought.
Yeah.
It's just little by little by little.
Yeah.
That's what creates the change. That's what changes the reprogramming. Because I don't know, maybe we live in this like all or nothing climate where it's like,
we do.
Well, if you can't do it all, then forget it. I might as well just keep drinking or keep binge whatever or
So we do. I mean, I think that I'm glad that with my girls, they do juice. They love juicing. It took a while to get them to love the juice, but I think that really helps a lot. And they're very much into some supplements that help with their, anxiety and their sleep issues and things like that, because they put a lot of pressure on themselves. They're involved and they're open to therapy and energy healing. And so I think that those little tools have so helped in terms of just keeping their feet on the ground. I think that's all we can ask for.
Yeah.
And same with my clients, just to get, most of them do not have their feet on the ground. So just to get their feet on the ground and have them feel like, ooh, I am planted, I can make, one step, I can do one step in front of the other now.
Right.
And you're right, not taking it all in and having to do it all, but just doing baby steps is really how you do it. And
Definitely.
I think that with diet and is huge to make when you eat right and you take the foods out that are sugar, dairy, gluten, processed, some of those things, and eat real food, just going back to the basics.
Yeah.
It really does help with energy and helps with mental clarity and just help with sleep and sort of also can help with depression and anxiety. I mean, it's like life changing, but I think we do live in a society where, things aren't as available and people are working hard and actually, stopping and getting fast food and crappy food. And that's just fueling a whole other set of things inside in terms of.
And what's happening inside, for some reason, our brains think this is me.
Right.
Like it's not because of these circumstances. It's like, I'm this way.
Right.
And I did have one of those. I mean, I do drink coffee, but when I do remember the awareness of what is the proper amount of coffee for me. Some people can sip coffee all day.
Yeah.
I cannot.
Yeah.
Because I was working, I was working at my desk and I maybe had one too many cups of coffee and my anxiousness jumped up and my heart started to race. And then that experience started to trigger a narrative in my head, which was totally not useful, super additionally stressful until I at least had the presence of mind to say, you know what? I think I've had too much coffee. Like, I actually think this is not me.
Right.
I think this is just a chemical reaction in my body that I don't need to attach this personal narrative to about like, or like
That's
jump
perfect.
down somebody's throat. So that little tiny awareness, can be quite powerful.
Yeah, that is true. I mean, that, too much sugar sends us, caffeine, sugar, just sends us down the rabbit hole.
Down the rabbit hole.
And we don't want that.
No.
So,
No.
Yeah.
I hear you. Well, before we wrap up, you don't have to answer this, but I am curious, either for you to think about or for you to share your wish. When you think about, and I'm going to be gifting you some wish beads, but when you think about like some wish that you have for yourself this year, some sort of moment that you envision for yourself, what does that look like for you, Elissa? If you want to share, you don't have to share all the wishes.
Yeah. I mean, what it looks like is, being more present with a feeling of inner peace. So inner calm. To really, I visited. I want to live there.
Oh, I love that. I visited. I want to live there. Okay, fantastic. So when this wraps up, you're going to select your Wishbeads bracelet. When you
Beautiful.
do the wish work and you do the guided visualization, and I know you are well versed in visualizations,
Yes.
see where that lives.
I know.
Write
I'm
it down in
excited.
detail. Put it in your Wishbead bracelet, and may it be so.
Yep. I think it will.
Well, thank you so much for being on the podcast. Thank you for watching. If you have any comments, please leave them. Subscribe to the channel. Follow Elissa. She's amazing. You're going to want to know what she's up to and make all of her delicious recipes. And I truly, truly, truly thank you for joining me
Thank you.
in the Shasta today.
Yes, I love it. I'm not leaving.
Okay, good.
I'm staying in the Shasta. Thank you.
You're welcome.